Well, may as well just start talking now, I suppose.
Yeah, we might as well get into it. All right, so what have we got today, Shaka, for our free build Friday?
We have a Mark 7,
Ooh,
Mark 8, sorry. Yeah, depending on where you get it from. But yeah, Mark 8.
that's a whole lot of gel blaster right there.
It's a very long gel blaster. Very, very long gel blaster. So this one here is getting the full Aztec treatment. So we're going obviously a Scythe gearbox, Leviathan MOSFET, 10 to 1 SSG Aztec gears.
10 to 1s. Look at that.
10 to 1s. Obviously Apache, optical V2 Leviathan. We're also going a Warhead 30k motor.
Oh, we're going Brownie.
Brownie piston.
As some people might have known, we've actually changed our pistons to blackies now. So it's
We know what to say.
yes, you'll need a wheelchair.
No, that's what I say.
Yes.
That's what people say.
But yeah, they're now black. The materials pretty much identical. We've already come up with that winning combination after much testing. The black ones just have a small amount of rubber.
That's pretty JB'd as well. AOE's already done, so we've got the Aztec spacer for the AOE.
And we've got an OG Apache.
That's an OG Apache.
An OG. Like, look at that thing.
Well, that's a Gen 1.2.
Yes, that's the non-adjustable.
One of my favourites still, just because it is an OG. We've got the slimline grip, so shimming the way that I've been shimming and showing you guys the way that everyone around the world shims. Nice slimline grip. Shimming the way that we normally do from pinion to bevel will mean that this will also sound very crispy once again. So no matter what grip, no matter what motor, no matter what bushings, no matter what gearbox, the only thing we may have to watch out for is this beaver tail on the receiver. So his current grip has no beaver tail. Sometimes beaver tails can throw out the meshing between the pinion and bevel once it's fully installed. So it'll sound amazing when you screw your grip to your gearbox, but then when you put it in the receiver, it sounds terrible. So we're just gonna have to take that on the fly.
Well, without further ado, let's connect this all up here. We'll just come around and put it in the mobile jig here.
Oh, we need the other one set up so I can see.
Yeah, I'll go grab that. Alrighty.
Let's hope this audio doesn't go scratchy with the mic.
Yeah, well, let's ask people. Alright, we'll get into it in a sec, guys. We're just connecting all up here.
Right. Well, I can't really see the screen, but I can see Prime Tech commenting. I shall be with you in 1 second, ma'am. We are setting up the secondary screen so I can actually read and reply to people. Bit of a little bit of sex, this one. About to get a whole lot of sex in a minute.
This weekend.
Just settle down. Jesus, go back to your office. Go type shit in the comments.
I wouldn't do that.
Oh god.
Look at that. That stream there. That's good.
And take the stand. I forgot I still had the stand hat on. Hat on.
Is the boss wearing pants?
For now, yes.
That could change.
That can change very, very quickly. Oh, never mind. Yeah, his pants off Fridays is getting a little bit out of control, to be honest. So let's actually get into this one. So I'm going to start disassembling this blaster now, and we are going to basically gut out all the internals. And fully rebuild this. We're aiming for that 340, 350 mark. We'll see how we go. It's quite a long barrel blaster. I have short stroked at one tooth. It is 38 centimeter barrel, 39 centimeter barrel when I measured it. So I've short stroked one tooth off the pickup side of these tender ones. And we'll be running a full cylinder on this one.
Ask everyone if they can hear all right.
Can everyone hear me properly, or is it crackly, or? Because we've connected the mic, and every time we try and use the mic, we get people say it's a bit crackly. Loud and clear. Awesome. Sweet. Yeah, all good, Pat?
Yeah.
So it must be something to do with the other phone.
Yeah, all good, Pat.
Oh, there we go. Jeez, I can hear myself on the
There
screen.
must be something to do with...
I always sound different on the screens.
Everyone does.
It's weird.
It's like in a phone call if you hear that. But that audio is fantastic.
That's when you start wondering, like, about life and the universe. It's, do I actually sound like I do on the screen?
Do I actually look like I think I look?
If you seen yourself on the street, would you recognise yourself? Oh,
Call
God.
me Agent Smith.
No, I won't call you that.
Mr. Alderton. Mr. Clark.
It's Brenta.
Loud and clear. That's what I like to hear.
Now, why don't you just go waddle off to your office and
Finish off our new anti-rotation bearing. Pushing.
bushings? That's right. No more spinning bushings, which is rare anyway, but just one less thing. Prime Tech, thanks for joining, man. You're always joining our lives, which is really good. Enjoy having you here. The German, what's going on, man? Set these off to the side. I will have to join you one of these days for CQB on a Wednesday night, man. At GSA. Just gotta get my health in order first. So once I get the green light from the docs, I appreciate the warm welcome. Oh, all good, man. Yeah, it's nice having you here, especially because we have some airsofters join, and I'm no airsoft tech, so it's nice having your expertise in the comments as well. Whenever you're ready, man, no rush. And bring Iggy as well. My knife needs some Welsh souls. Yes, yes. Well, Iggy did try to claim my soul on the CQB field at GSA, like before they were doing scrims and speedball there. And I threw two innocent, defenseless victims between me and him, so that I could have someone between us before I took him out. So he's tried to claim my soul in his knife. He still hasn't got it. So I dare say if we do go again on the Wednesday night for CQB, he'll definitely be looking to add mine to his collection. Now, which way is this pin? That way. This knife has enough soul, so we're going to laser it for each victim. He wouldn't have a knife left if you lasered it for each victim. He gets like 20 kills per game sometimes with a knife. Yeah, I reckon I need this one. Right, set that off to the side for now. Now I have pre-JB welded these bushings in, so these are already pre-JB'd. Same with the sector, I do pull them apart and JB weld sectors together, especially the tender ones. I wouldn't consider myself an expert, but I learned enough through other more experienced techs and hope to continue to learn and innovate. 100%, man, that's exactly the same thing with myself, just obsessed with airsoft techs for the last 5 years, and obviously, you know, we're not allowed airsoft, but yeah, translated over into building gel blasters and never looked back. Until there's some sort of degree from like university or TAFE or something, there will never be, you know, qualified techs. It's like a dyno tuner. It comes down to like just experience. And who better to learn from than, you know, airsoft techs that have, some of them been doing it for, you know, over 20 years. Right, so once again, we're always going to start where we always start. That's with our pin into bevel. Just make sure our bevel spins nicely, we don't have any wobble. Start there, that's good. Now, motor. Now this time it should be a little bit more streamlined, this live. I've got pretty much everything in place that I should need instead of running around midstream like I was last time. Now I do like to have these notched in, so all I'm going to do is just scrape the corner off. This build here is for a John. John, you're always commenting on our Aztec stuff and on our Aztec page, so it's our pleasure to do this one for you. You did just jinx yourself. So would it be alright to discuss about that claim that y'all shared on Facebook? That's my go. Ooh. Yeah, bro, this is your one, John. You did just jinx yourself, by the way. Jinx myself. Right. The clone, yeah, Z-clone. That was very frustrating, to say the least. You know, I was very frustrated all night at that. I sort of slept on it, woke up the next day and come to the conclusion that, you know, they've imitated it because, you know, it's something that works, something that is selling and has been for the last 2 years. So it's kind of also a little bit crazy to come up with something that, you know, other companies are copying. And not have to find stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I know. It's always the way with the universe. It's, you know, I'm like, oh, I know where that is, and all of a sudden it's somewhere else. So the universe hates me for some reason. Imitation is the highest form of flattery, or so they say. Still a dick move. Yeah, it is still quite a dick move, but you know, it's forced us. It's kind of good. It's kind of forced us to bring up the the CAD design for the Apache and start looking at how we can enhance it and separate ourselves again. Because they did imitate the Gen 1. So we are already looking at some changes, as in enhancements. So, I mean, they can tag along if they like. Just make sure that the motor's not too tight in the slimline grips. So these are those slimline grips. You know, quite comfortable to hold, but can be a little bit tricky with some motors, to be honest. So let's start with some shims. Now, I do like to start with a 0.25 and work my way from there. The Gooch, how does it feel to watch your your blaster be built? I know if I was a customer, I would absolutely love it, to be honest. Just loosen that grip just a little bit. It'd be pretty cool. How may I be of assistance?
It's just a Jamie Gary and 2.9.
No, it's not every yesterday. I haven't messaged him to pick up or anything.
No, it's fine. It's just asking.
That's okay. The Venom is what I got started on late yesterday. Obviously today we've been tied up with all of this, but it is first point of call come Monday. I do have those two to work on Monday, but his will be straight in, so he's looking at more than likely a Tuesday pickup for two of his GATs, but then we'll service the M249 like after that.
Yeah.
So
Do we need the magazine for that?
for,
The M249?
does he have the magazine? And
Not there now. You know,
that would be lovely if he could
Yeah.
bring the
I need
magazine.
it.
Yeah. Thanks, Six. I'd love to comment, but has Aztec considered polymer nozzles for the SF version for an 3-inch polymer nozzles and more satisfying in terms of performance? It's definitely something that could be looked at. It's a bit high up.
Yeah.
You're a bit high up. You need to climb down from your ivory tower. Look, that's like you right. This is why you're not allowed on the internet or on the live. There's something wrong with you.
Don't know what you're talking about. Everyone loves me.
Sure.
That's what I keep telling myself.
So, as Fabian said, I have jinxed myself. I thought I had everything prepared.
Mm-hmm.
I have to just notch this grip out because it's fouling on the bevel.
Do you really get
The cut-off tool. Yeah. Actually, no. Bring it.
While Shaka's doing that, this is one of his favourite tools here. This is the brushless cut-off tool. We use that from barrels for many things. Since he's working on gearboxes and all kinds of things all day, this thing, so easy to control. You control the different rotation, but also just a low speed. Beautiful, isn't it, Shaka?
Just go back to your
Don't
eyes.
pretend
Go
like
on.
you don't care.
Go on, just look. Now you're walking into shit.
I got it right.
Prime Tech said, would you consider like a polymer nozzle for the airsoft version? Because they can have better satisfying performance enhancements over the alloy. Could be something to look at. We have considered that in the past, so it might be something to revisit. Giggity giggity. Fabian said that he wants to claim your Welsh soul into his knife on a Wednesday night at GSA. In the comments here. Would you like to pass Fabian a message while you're here? He's in the live. I'll be able to hear you.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Unfortunately, Wednesdays are a bit hard, but the feeling is definitely mutual. I won't be giving my soul away, I'll be taking yours instead.
Whoa!
Just saying.
Hear that, Fabian? You're going in his knife. Wait for it. Wait for it. He'll comment in a second. I can see him now, he'll just be giggling. Shaka, if that grip is a drama, don't worry, stick with the original. It's all good, man. It was just sort of pushing up on the bevel gear, so it should be fine. The only thing we may have a drama with is the beaver tail, but it may or may not be a drama. We'll have to see when we get there. A trade is acceptable, and all I'd be willing to concede to. Yeah.
Charmed.
So he's only willing to concede to a trade.
Charmed.
He said charmed and bowed and is walking backwards slowly.
We'll see what happens at Viper's Fury.
He said we'll see what happens at Viper's Fury. Ooh, spicy! I like it. Nice and tight. Tweet like a tiger. Cool. So let's get some blue on this before we tighten him up. Brent sort of smoked this boss man. There we go. Now people can actually see instead of the top half there. Little bit of blue on the grub screw. Little bit of blue. This is a wee bit too deep. Bring it back, bring it back. Alright, so where are we at? Should be good. Right about there. Alright, let's bring that up just ever so slightly. I do see the beaver tails below the surface, but it can be an issue. Yeah, it can be a little bit dicky. It's alright, sometimes they're a nightmare, and yeah, other times they go on pretty good. You can shim it beautifully and you expect this clean, crispy gun, and you put it to the receiver and it squeals like a pig getting a face tattoo. Ran into that when I worked on the client seamer, so to fix it, I just trimmed along the edge of the tail with a rotary tool. Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, you sort of just trim the edges down just to sort of stop it from rubbing, but we shall see how we go. I do need to shim this up ever so slightly though, so we're going to move up to a 0.3. like the slimline grip though. It's very very nice look to it. Okay, so we're going to have to move up. It's maybe a 0.5. This particular grip combination wants to shim pretty, to get pretty high. Alright, 0.5. Let's see where that gets us. Close this door, it's rather hot. Just sweat a little bit. A little bit deeper. Little bit deeper. Okay, because that blue Loctite hasn't set yet. Still wants to come up further. We're at 0.5. That's, I mean, I guess it's kind of good because it means we can shim the sector real low, closer to the laser, more meshing with the piston. I shimmed a 0.08 in the bevel half shell last night. It was a bit confusing. Yeah. Yeah, it just depends. So 0.5, let's keep that on there. Let's go 0.15. So we're at 0.65 now. Let's see where it's at. This is sort of why, you know, I've seen some people sort of blanket shim. In fact, the junior that was here after my 12-month hiatus from Azrael's was blanket shimming. And I was, no, we don't 0.3 everything. So now I'm starting to sometimes that can just be because of the way that the pinion's sitting, but we'll have a look. And it's just sort of 0.3 shimming everything. It's just, that's just how he was sort of taught. And no, we don't blanket shim. So the internal commuter windings are exposed. And the grips are very slim. Point is to mimic the grip of a real steel. That's right, yeah. I mean, cool, but we're too tight there, so I'm going to drop it down. I'm going to go 0.55. Actually, I'll close the other half with no shims on and see where that 0.5 sits. We've got our mesh or not. the 0.5 for now. Just see what we shall see. So once again, no shims on the other side. See what we get. So, this is 10-to-1 SSG gears going in this one on a 30k warhead. So, going to be pretty quick. Like right on it. Not sure if you guys can hear that. It's literally right sort of on it. So I'm going to drop that to, it's 0.5 at the moment, I'm going to drop that to 0.45. It's right on it right now. I have the slightest bit of pinion to bevel play with the mesh, but it's a little too close for my liking. We just drop it down ever so slightly. That should be golden. Yeah, it's going to be a pretty cool gat when it's done, man. He's still off the 10-to-1 SSG on the website. We do. The problem is we have them like in store, and a lot of them are for builds and stuff. What are your thoughts on DIY HPA configurations? What do you, HPA. Sounds cool, man. To be honest, that's not my lane. I stay in AEG, and that's all I live and breathe. But anything like that, man, that's creative and different is truly impressive. That's what I love to see. All right, so we're going to bring this down with a 0.15 and a 0.3, so that's 0.45 now on top of the bevel, and we should be pretty close there. So I'm just going to eliminate the play on the other side now, because we had the click, but ever so slightly. So if I just dropped it, the mesh wouldn't be too aggressive between the pinion and bevel. Translation to AG is fairly straightforward as well. Electronics are playing with AG using capacitors. So we still have a little bit of play on the bottom. 0.25 mil play, so what I might do, put a 0.15, so I want that 0.1, and then we'll test our pinion to bevel again. It was pretty much on it just before. .15, here we go. So our new gears are going to be a little bit different to typical sort of configurations. Right, so you can see we've got nice spinning there, but it's less than 0.1 of play there, so I don't want that fouling before it meshes with full mesh to the pinion, so I want that to be at least 0.1 because our play on our pinion to bevel with no shims on the bottom with the box fully closed and motor in was less than 0.1. So I dropped it by 0.05, so we should be at 0.08, so just shy of 0.01 when you click the side of the bevel to the pinion. So we want to have that sort of play up and down on the bevel as well, just to allow for that full mesh when it does cycle. So 0.15, I'm going to drop that down to a 0.1. And now we should be golden. And I shall test with the grip on in a sec. Oh, that's awesome, Liam. I'm keen to see what you end up doing. Alright, so now we have our 0.1 of play. Let's make sure it's nice and tight. What's your take on brushless over conventional neo-magnet motors? Do you mostly exclusively use them now? Or yeah, so brushless I would say are probably 80% of our builds now. Just given that, you know, DSG's, you know, doing like 11 amps and things like that, and I'm a sucker for ASG infinity motors as well, so they are my favourite brushed motors. Look, I don't mind people that bring in brushed motors. It's not a problem. It's when they bring in like a 39k purple SHS motor and they want me to put it on 12s that I'll have to give them a phone call and just say, look, you know, we've got high speed gears, high speed motor. You know, we can't have low TPA armature motors powering 12 to 1s with rather heavy springs. It's just something's got to give. I do much prefer a brushless. However, you can't beat the reliability of like an 18k ASG Infinity. Those things just run forever. Same as some of the Teamleys. I'm seeing the bevel gear is how much adjustment you can actually do to the pinion gear, or is it all on the bevel gear? Just in the correct heights. So at the start of the video, I had the motor in the grip, and I set my bevel up to the pinion, if you know what I mean. So I basically, one sec, sorry mate. So basically I put just the bevel with shims on top, so it depends on how you sort of want to call it. And I shim the bevel up to the pinion when I've set my motor depth. So the first thing I do is set my motor depth, make sure my motor depth is correct with the pinion on the motor. And that's all red Loctited to the motor. So I set my depth with blue Loctite on the screw. So then I set the depth in to meet the bevel, and then I shim the bevel up to the pinion while I have 0.1 of play. So when I push the bevel up, it meets into the pinion. So I put no shims on that side with the box fully closed. Motor in, I think it was a 0.5 on this side of the bevel. No shims on that side. Motor in. And then as long as I can move it by 0.1 mil up, that's my teeth sitting at 0.1 with my pinion tooth and my bevel teeth. So if you have more than 0.1, it's like 0.2, you need to shim your bevel up to your pinion further. So you want to shim it to the point where it's at like a 0.1, so you've got that 0.1 mil of click, and then when you push up on the bevel, it pushes up by 0.1 without fouling on the motor. And then now we're at the point where we're eliminating the play on the other side of the bevel. How does that reduce twist that the motor can exert on the bevel? So it's basically just allowing for full mesh of the pinion to the bevel. Twist on the motor is always going to happen. Some grips you can actually, there's a lot of space like for motors to twist. And I'll just a little bit of electrical tape around the motor and into the grip just to stop that motor from torquing so much, like, you know, when it engages. Bevel gear for correct parts. Yeah, so pinion to bevel obviously is paramount over shimming off the spur. Some people shim off the spur. I don't see why when the motor is engaging the bevel, because you're literally shimming your bevel to your spur, but then you can't shim your motor to your bevel. The bevel needs to be shimmed to the motor. Right, so we're still a little bit tight. So I have got that little bit of play. Just a little bit tight for my liking there. I'm gonna have to drop that down just a little bit. Apache tuning will be at the end, bro. Right now, just making sure we get this right for John. Alright, so we do have a minute bit of play there, but it's not 0.1. We need to give that pinion to bevel a little bit of space to breathe. Not too tight. So what have we got there? We've got 0.3 and 0.15. So let's go 0.4. Just take off all of these shims real quick. So we only have 0.4 on top of the bevel at the moment. So I just want to make sure, because I have sort of dropped that bevel just a little bit further, that it's not too much meshing lost. I've done 120 and 80 to get here without next use. Yeah, don't kill yourself, bro. That would not be good. Or cop a hefty fine. Alright, so because I've dropped that bevel a little bit, I just want to double check that the heights are good with the meshing. I recently got into shimming to the motor tower. There's a slight difference in sound after all the tuning. It's pretty crisp if done correctly. Yeah, that's right. It's not only pretty crisp, but you'll get consistent results between grips and motors and different types of gears and things like that, and different types of bevels that have different types of meshing with certain types of pinions. So yeah, you just get a more consistent result, lower amps in general. Alright, so how is that? Alright, so surely bringing that bevel up earlier was showing correct mesh. Maybe I had a bit of funk off this mat. There's lots of little bits of debris on this mat on the shim. So here comes the boss man. Jesus. Go on, go to your desk. As always, it's really about the fine tuning without needing to elaborate. Yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, like, you know, people that I've taught or worked with, it's, you know, it is the devil in the detail. And JB welding your racks in, JB welding your bushes in, or using bearing, bushing, retaining compound, or it's the little things that count. That really make a build seem in the long term. But anything that comes through the door gets the exact same treatment here. There is no matter what it is, it's all, as you've seen sort of the last 5 or 6 videos, it's all the same thing all the time. Did the boss man bring you a new sombrero? Don't say things like that, because he will quickly jump on eBay or something and order one for me. That's the last thing I need. I'll end up as a bloody human pinata if he has his way. Pretty hot and humid here today. Weather's supposed to be cooling down. So you can see there's only shims on the top side, so we have a shit ton of play. But I want that play to be fouling on the pinion, not on the bushing on the other side. Nice and tight. Now. Right, so we've got our little clip back. Interesting. So shimming earlier, as you guys seen, it sort of wanted to go up quite a lot. Now it's at the point where it wants to be. You can see the bevel's moving up and fouling. So that bevel is now fouling on the pinion, and a little bit of clicky action if you shake it. So yeah, it's now fouling purely. Might be a bit hard to see where you guys are watching from, but so that is the bevel basically hitting the hitting the pinion gear. So now we can shim out the other side. Yeah, that sort of set me on a bit of a wild goose chase then, that for some reason. I only have shims on one side. He's walking through the shop looking for his next victim. His next kill. Alright, so if we move that over here. Oh shit. I just dropped that shim. Yeah, right. Alright. Time to look for another one. Yep. Alright, another 0.3 on there. So, go 0.5. 8, and let's go. Let us go a 0.2 on that 0.5. So we've just done pin into bevel. We're now shimming out that dead space on the other side. And we know our pin into bevel have mesh, perfect mesh, and then we can shim our bevel to our spur, spur to sector to piston. So what have we got now? It's a little bit loose. What did I put on the bottom? 0.5 and 0.2. So I might go 0.25 on that 0.5, and that should give us our 0.1 of play. Actually no, what was that? That was 0.25. Yeah, right. Well, 0.3. Now, when we put the grip on, we should retain our play on the pinion to the bevel. So most of you that have had builds done from here, you'll know that it's average 3 hours, whether it's a DSG or an SSG. On Apaches, obviously more DSG with a tappet, but on Apache everything's about 3 hours, so it's kind of one of the other things we wanted to show you, the work that sort of does go into sort of setting your gut up right. But, you know, and some of you that will watch this video after it's been posted live will know, you know, 3-4 years ago, 2-3 years ago, you would have been charged, you know, 3 to 4 hours labour, depending on what it was. So, like I said, every single blaster gets treated exactly the same. There is none that are treated different for whatever reason. gig. Alright, so now we've retained our 0.1 mil click. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. It's a bit hard for me to push back on that side. You see that that bevel moves up and down, and we have our 0.1 click. So now John's is all good now. So that pinion to bevel now is all good, without any shims on the other side. So it had 0.8 mil, nearly a whole mil of play up and down without the motor in. We put the motor in, we had 0.1 of play up to the pinion. We then shimmed off the other side 0.8, we still have our 0.1. And now that is good to go. We just got to make sure that when we install our Leviathan, that the cable management doesn't interfere with the motor's meshing or not. So ASMR bevel clicking. Bro, I hate ASMR stuff. Like I can't do like dripping taps or like people chewing food, and I honestly don't get how it's a thing. It drives me up the wall. My missus plays ASMR like directly, hey check this out, just to drive me up the wall. Should be like 100 an hour. Yeah, it sort of depends. Like the average sort of bill cost will be $200 to $300. Lots of things are generally like simple repairs. But you know, we do offer extended warranties to people with all of our builds, so we do look after everyone that walks through the door. It is just sort of standing by ourselves. But yeah, it's some of the, you know, not going to name any names, but some of the other shops have charged in excess of $500-600 for just in labour for builds, and it's quite breathtaking, to be honest. And then don't back up any warranty or anything on top of that, and generally accuse the customer of opening the blaster and stuff like that. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, we just try and do our best and look after people best way we can. My hourly rate stays the same. Cough cough, boss man. So he'll be listening to this. No, he's not going to pay me next week. Wait for it. What's he going to type? Alright, so pinion to bevel is good. Wait for it, wait for it. I am now. Oh, there he is. Yeah, you are. I was saying in the office earlier that I'm going to start a new trend. I probably shouldn't say it. Should I say it? Boss man? She'll say it now, just to shit me, just to spite me. So we're at 0.8 on that underside. So now we're going to have to shim the spur up to the bevel to retain our mesh between our bevel and our spur. Alright, so let's have a look. What have we got? Alright, so I can see there is about 95% mesh there. We don't want to go too close to the bevel, because when we allow our 0.1 mil of play on that spur, it can move up into the bevel. I don't know what you're on about. We are all very professional here. Yeah, sure. If I did a shimming on my G9 not 3 years ago, and the sector wasn't even touching part of the piston. Like it was ripping into the plastic, and it wore down the pickup so bad you could see. Yeah, that's that shimming the sector too high I've spoke about in previous videos, where you can only shim it up so high, you'll lose. That's why I always say pinion to bevel, bevel to spur, spur to sector, sector to piston. where it wasn't touching the piston. Yeah, that definitely can happen. Definitely can happen. I just don't want this bevel spur moving up into this bevel. It's a little bit close, so I might go 0.45. That's 0.5. Let's go 0.45. So it's a 0.2, 0.25. So now we're at 0.45, and we should be at about 90% mesh. But what it means is that once we shim that tolerance at play on the spur to 0.1, that when the blaster is running and that spur is prone to playing up and down, that play on the way up doesn't rub on the bevel. Yeah, so that's much healthier now. So you could now probably fit a piece of paper between the spur and that bevel. That's the sort of gap that's in there. And guess what? Never had anyone else touch my blasters again. Yeah. Yeah, when the STD6s first came out, that's when I first started sort of playing around. And then the Gen 8s came out, and I seen Brent with his MKM2, I think it was. It was what got him the name Chainsaw. And it was like pre-Gen 8, and that's when I first seen something modded, and that's when I was like, okay, I want something like that. So I ordered cast gears, put them in, and didn't even know anything about shimming. No shims, just dropped the gears in, closed it up, and boom, stripped the spur all the way around nearly. Put a 0.2 on the spur and run it under the bevel. Yeah, exactly, man. So you can put a shim on there to make sure that you do have that gap. My pops would say, if you have the tools, do the job yourself. 100%. We get people come in all the time. Hence why I've released quite a lot of videos in my time on my personal YouTube channel, just to help people. You know, because 9 times out of 10, if you encounter a problem on the field, it's generally a very simple fix. And it's just better that people understand that they can fix that themselves. So we're on a 0.5. Oh, it's actually rubbing on the spur. So let's go 0.2. I don't want to shim this too high. This is what we were literally just talking about. So I've just got to check that I retain mesh between my piston and my sector. I'll just eyeball it. Yeah, that's the same, man. I'll just eyeball it as well. Tappet springs. Tappet springs is one of the most common things to fail for people. Once again, I guess that all depends if people are emptying moisture off their gels well enough before they play. You know, some people dump water and dump gels into a mag and there's water coming out their mag, and then they run it through their blaster and it literally drives me up the wall. Just get good ones, then you're fine. I've only broken like 2 hard. Yeah, only broken 2, but I mean, man, I've built 2 or 3 a day for nearly 3 years. So when you build like a massive amount, you do see people bringing them in and breaking return springs like regularly. Me personally, I've had myself 1 or 2 return springs go as well. Not many on my personal gats. But yeah, once again, it's one of those things where when you're building for the masses and people aren't draining off their gels and they're just putting them in stuff, that's where the problem sort of comes from. It can be pretty rough. It's like the previous tech that was filling my shoes here as I left to the other company. He built 20 odd for his squad, and my thing to him was, that's all fun and games, but when you're building, 2 or 3 a day, every day, it can be pretty taxing. I'm not gonna lie. Even though it's a love, it's something I love to do. It still can get really, really taxing. So yeah, it can be pretty rough, to be honest. Just swap the patches into all my builds. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they definitely have their place, and I think I think another company has has seen that and decided to copy the Apache. Which, you know, imitation is flattery, like you said earlier, and like I said yesterday on the post. But yeah, it's just one of those things, man. We kind of knew it was always going to happen, to be honest. And it's finally happened. I'm actually surprised it took them so long. I guess, you know, they're a little bit skeptical on it, and now they see that it does work. They, you know, they wanna mimic it. .1. It's because they hit the US market, in my opinion. Yeah, gel ball is picking up really, really quickly in the US market. We've already sent 5 or 6 full custom builds there. Yeah, it's gaining traction 100%. Most embarrassing fail I experienced when my seamer stopped working mid-game. I realised that I didn't properly solder when I made the camera, so when I installed it. Yeah, nothing to be embarrassed about there, man. That's, you know, doing your own thing. And the see the Apache is they break soft gels and are noisy if you want the gel blaster quiet. Yeah, they are very, very noisy, and I do agree, not everyone really likes that. And the soft gels thing, I mean, yeah, I mean, you know, realistically, we all want hard gels. And, you know, you can have them fire on AKAs, which are pretty soft, but they have to be the non-branded batch. They can't be the branded bag. And you can get them to run soft gels. You have to use soft rubbers, but then they're prone to double feeding, and yeah, it's just, they do have their own quirks and stuff. Me personally, I'll never go back to soft gels. It's just the way that I am with it, I guess. So if I got my DSG shoot pretty well, turns out FPS on the gun varies greatly depending on what type of blacking I'm using. 0.4 gil difference. Oh, nice, man. Yeah, I remember you last week saying you were trying to get that going. That's awesome to hear, bro. Alright, that spur's way too tight. Spur is too tight, so I think I only put a 0.1 on top of that. There's no movement with a 0.1, so I'll take the 0.1 back off, because that will give us 0.1 movement on the spur. Let's put a 0.35 on this one. Just 1 second. Halves or something, isn't it? Good for you. Let's see. see what that 0.1 do. Not causing jamming. Cutting out the final traffic as we get out of adjustments for the signal for let's go airsoft. I can't get it any tighter. I should get my picture run a little more quiet by using a palm piston head. I'm using a modded pad with a cylinder head. You can get them to run a bit quieter. Funny enough, the muzzle techs run really quiet on Apaches. So, use airsoft. Right, so it feels a little bit too slack with that 0.1. I can't drop that anymore, I'll lose my meshing. Let's try a different 0.1, maybe it's a little bit. I'll go grab another 0.1, just see what that do. Alright, so a different brand 0.1 and it's used, so it's a little bit, hopefully it's a little bit flatter, that would be nice. We'll just see how it sort of goes. That had a little bit too much place of 0.35. What have we got? 125 and 0.15, so we'll go 0.4 on the sector. There. Okay, 1 second. Here I was thinking I was fully prepared for that. Alright. So where was I? That. Okay. SHS pack. I'm using a Aztec pack, so they have 1.5mm shim. It needed to be 0.0. So yeah, the 0.1 is a little bit too thick. Alright, so we've got clay on the... It's still a little bit too tight. So if I take the 0.1 off, I've got too much clay. So it's the same as the Aztec 0.1, then you've got Aztec 0.15s. But it's not a 0.15 I need, or a 0.1, it's more than a 0.1. So you can see here it's 0.1 and nothing on there. So if I put that on, which is just what it was, it spins freely, but it slows itself down because there's no play. So we go the 0.1 off there. We spin good, but a little bit too much play on the bevel. Bevel, bloody spur gear. Yes, that's much better. A nice smooth. Sector's good. Let's just try, I guess, another 0.1 and hope for a tolerance issue in the 0.1s themselves. Let's try that one. Let's try that one. Just for shits and gigs. They can do. We have put a little bit of glue on selector plates, so a little drop of super glue and just move it while it's setting. But yeah, that's much better. Hang on. Yeah, so now with that 0.1 on that spur, we have just shy of 0.1 of play. And the bevel. Same thing with the bevel. So yeah, using that 0.1 that was on there is like it's a little bit thinner than most. So get the calipers out and see if it is. Yeah, the only thing is though with calipers and 0.1, you know, it's this sort of human error, you know, holding a 0.1 shim and a caliper, you squeeze a little bit too tight and it can give you a false reading, or a little bit too loose where you sort of put the 0.1 in the caliper and open it until it falls down, and yeah, it can be a bit of a Bit of a dick. But that's good now, we've got the play there just by switching shims out. Now, Leviathan install. So, John, if you are still in the chat, how sensitive would you like your trigger? Would you like it hairline? Would you like sort of a quarter trigger pull, half trigger pull? It's up to you, man. Whatever you sort of want your GAT set up. I am easy. Now it's not the movement in the shim, so you know if you squeeze calipers hard, they can, you know, give you like a false reading. Or if you don't squeeze them hard enough. Good for measuring gel balls and like inner diameters of barrels and things like that, but shims are a bit different.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Get a photo, remember? So we'll get a photo as we go.
Oh, of each stage.
Yeah.
That's a handy idea.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry guys, we're also doing a little bit.
Brent's just interrupting, you know, 'cause
Yeah.
he thinks he owns the place or something. You know, thinks he's the boss. Is that going to be in that audio when you just come?
No, I'll remove it.
You will keep it there, or I will hand him one. Ah, there's shims on that.
I see.
Just no.
I think I can come round and
I need like a smacking stick. Come near
the
the
kids' show with the cuts stick.
Every time you're like, ooh, it's such. Don't touch it. Don't even look at it. Look, boss man ruining the workspace. Yeah,
Oh, come on
100%.
guys. Who said that?
Prime Tech. He knows
Prime
exactly what he's on about.
No.
Yeah,
How do we ban him from this chat?
ban him. He needs like a badge. He's been in every live.
I know. He's the one that I think actually got you to shoot me with the last one.
Oh, he may have been a part of it. That
Yeah.
was quite a few people that voted unanimously.
I know.
That was-
You still haven't got $10 out of it. I don't know. I can't remember who that was. Or the beer.
The beer?
Yeah. Someone said I'll give you a beer if you shoot him.
Oh, really? I didn't see
Yeah, that was the one at Take Edge.
Oh, well, that was when we were building the DSG live.
Yeah.
I didn't see that one actually. Pity I don't drink alcohol at all, but you know,
I'll take one for you. I'll take one for the team.
I'll take one for the team. He reckons.
Let me just move stuff around.
Yeah. You know what you can do? Put a little bit of silicone oil on
Yes, I was
that
about to say we
Apache,
need some.
because they're very tight fits in the SHS cylinders.
Yeah, especially these OG ones. I think we did increase.
Yeah, the OG ones are super tight in the SHS cylinders. It's good. I like it.
Or ask the customers, or like, you know, because I'm sure a lot of people on here have used the Apache or have installed quite a few, or at least one in their own ones. If there is something you could change about it, we always love feedback from all the customers. What would you change about the Apache? You know, we have, you know, just being open and candid here, we have had, obviously it's gone through quite a few iterations. The last one, which those people didn't copy, they did the other one, was the fact that we got rid of the how they used to join in the middle, because that could actually cause a bit of a sealing issue. So we made it, change that to
If
sealing.
you
at the
install
front.
them right, it wasn't a ceiling. But
No.
once again, when you're building for the masses, you have to eliminate little
Anything,
things.
exactly.
Like
So we got rid of that.
it's different when you.
So what we have been discussing and still haven't found out a solution for yet is, as everyone knows, to adjust the length of the nozzle. You either cut down the longer AK variety, which is the longer rubber nozzle, or you install O-rings and you space it out that way and then glue it on. So one of the things we're talking about is if we can somehow get rid of the need for spacing it out using O-rings and come up with a different system for adjusting, not like the first one, which was
Yeah,
an
the
adjustable
adjustable,
nozzle
yeah.
where it moved the entire thing up and you had these fine threads that could break.
I don't like the nozzle rubber because I've had lots of drums with them coming off. Yeah, so there's a few rubbers out there. The V3AK rubber, which is what I've installed onto this Apache, and scarring up the inside surface of the rubber and the outside surface of the Apache, and using this specific glue. Make sure you keep the lid on and shake it up before you use it. Your rubber's not going to come back off. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been using for the last sort of 12 months now, and haven't seen a rubber come off, except the normal V2 rubbers are more prone to coming off, even with that method. So yeah, it just sort of depends what rubber Loctite. Some people have used this and go, it don't work, but they're not shaking it up, they're leaving the lid off, things like that, or they're not scuffing up both surfaces. Can you have a screw-on rubber nozzle, so when you screw it on you can control the depth, like a screwing nut to a bolt? I've got a Gen 1 Apache, RIP Gen 1 Apache. We should send him a new silver one.
Yes.
You should. Look at
Sure.
Brent's looking at me like, sure, I'll just note that down for your page.
A screw-on rubber nozzle. That's an interesting one, because we are working through, you know, what different ways you could adjust the rubber nozzle. That would just mean a whole new mold, but that's not saying that we can't do that. It just means we have to have it perfect before you spend quite a few thousands of dollars on a mold. But that's definitely an interesting idea. Put the thread in the rubber nozzle itself. It just does mean obviously that you'd still need to glue it on though. But there's more surface area, so gluing it on, that would be definitely a more solid. Yeah, BBs would be great. So yes, it's definitely possible, guys, to do it that way. That's an interesting approach. I didn't even think of that one. I don't know if Shaq has brought it up, but you would have seen that we're manufacturing some anti-rotation bushes. So where there's like a keyway in each of the bushes and on the gearbox itself, obviously. But if you don't want to buy the anti-rotation bushes, you can still just use any bush in there, no problem. But obviously that would only suit our next generation of gearboxes that will have the notches taken out of the gearbox. But yeah, that was just watching another tech online. I think it was the Airsoft Tech having a roaring gearbox from one of the bushes that was spinning around in the gearbox. So one way to fix that is obviously have a bushing that cannot possibly rotate. What Shaka does here is JB welded in, which is great, and that stops it. But these can heat, and you know, I think the Airsoft Tech did actually glue his in as well. But these can heat up, and that can release. So what the anti-rotation bush would allow you to do is to not be so reliant on JB weld. They're getting manufactured now. It's not just pie in the sky kind of thing. The gearboxes are getting made, the next generation ones, with that keyway built into it, and the bushes as well. Luckily, we thought that the you know, cost a bit more, you know, per item to get the bushes made with that kind of keyway built into it, but we'll still have those bushes at the same price as the current ones as well. Oh, it's saying, someone's saying the 620 Loctite's better than JB Weld.
Worth a test.
Yeah, we'll definitely give that a go. But yeah, the screw design of the rubber tip would give more surface area, so we definitely had more bite and wouldn't allow it just to fall off.
Good idea.
I do like that. It still means you need to glue it on.
Yeah. To stop them from coming off is a very particular way to glue them on, which, you know, we do need to do a full just focus video on Apache. Throw it out FPS wise, make it double feed, triple feed, solutions to fix, what type of glues we use, you know, all that jazz.
Yeah, do a refresher
The
with the
types
latest.
of rubbers, different T-pieces to different rubbers to different spacements. There's
Yeah,
a whole
no,
heap of
because
shit.
quite a few people use it in the Soma, so you know how you do that one and tune that one perfectly. Oh, the OG,
Tis the original. And I used to like to just put a little drop of blue.
which is the one they copied, that exact one, which is why it's also red. They even copied the colour. You think they could be a little bit inventive and change the colour? I mean, they call it deep blue for fuck's sake. You could actually make it blue, but no, let's copy the colour as well.
Yeah, that made me angry for like 2 days.
Oh, how do you think I felt?
I think you felt fucking. It was my pain that created it, and your fucking creativity that designed it.
That's it. That's why we're Robin and Batman.
Fucking hair in my mouth.
What kind of hair? Sorry.
No, there it is. I got it.
Is it curly?
No, it was fucking white, and like that.
It's curly.
That's
I'm
not
sorry.
curl. That's not a pew. That's like
I didn't want to say it.
looks like one of your arse
And you
hairs.
just blurted it out. We'll have to edit that. We're not live, right?
No. It's like a 10-minute delay.
Oh, there's a delay. Yeah, it's like on the radio stations how they can we'll be right back.
Except there's not.
Okay, so we all right. You'll have to apologise for Shaka's language there.
This language. Yeah, right. Hashtag Brent's a whore.
Slut.
Whore.
Slut.
Fucking get out of my workspace. See what I have to put up with. Seriously. Trying to be professional in this place and just make sure fitment cylinder's a little bit tight. She's a wee bit tight. Right, cable management Levi time. Let's do it. Thank God, boss man's gone back to his desk. Have a hard enough time as it is. Yelling something out. No, it won't be the same manufacturer. Just because there's agreements in place. And I can get into quite a bit of trouble for that. Other videos. They've helped out a lot. Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that. That's all we're trying to do. Now, did John happen to... It's silicone oil or Shaka's tears? So, Mr. Gooch, how sensitive would you like a trigger, man? Sorry, you may have answered. Chinese care little for copyrights. Yeah, 100%. 100 percentile. We don't care. It's, you know, how many job or shops can say they've had a company not super sensitive. Alright, I'll set it up how I do like Martin's, where it's not too sensitive, but it's not Milson. Okay, so we'll go like a good sort of half a trigger pull sort of thing, so not full trigger, we'll do like a nice sort of trigger pull. Martin's the same way, he doesn't like He doesn't like his triggers too sensitive. Unless it's on his the MPX that we did, his tan one. That's his little CQB gap. Yeah, it is kind of a cool feeling, you know, that how many, you know, gel ball shops that just import gears and import stuff, and you know, they don't really do a whole lot in terms of innovate things, because it is difficult. Like, you know, you look at retro arms when they came out, they got dragged over the coals by the community, and 8 years later and countless, you know, changes later, they've you know, one of the best gearboxes on the market. So it's one of those things where it is pretty nice to have a company copy something. Yeah, it's actually a really cool feeling, to be honest. So not too sensitive trigger. Let's just go like a half throw, I'm thinking. So that way you can rest your finger on the trigger and just pull it when you need it. Viper's Fury Militia Commander needs a Gucci Gat. Indeed. Love me a Gucci Gat. Brent just loves Gooch in general. Yeah, you heard me, boss man. Yeah, wait for it. Wait for it. Yeah, so last night I was sort of scrolling through the interwebs as I normally do, and noticed there was an airsoft tech being dragged over the coals for a spinning bushing. Hence why this morning we thought, well, why don't we make bushings that won't spin? And realised that the only reason that bushings are the way they are is because it's cheap. And ready to go in the mass, so thought, why not? Let's make an anti-rotation bushing. Not that we really have that many dramas of bushings rotating, but it's just one less thing to worry about in the long haul. Gate was the same way, and now they're the most recommended airsoft brand for an ETU, even with their firmware paywall. 100%, man. Anything with innovation is unfortunately gonna come with its quirks. Same thing with like virtual reality. I got into that 8 years ago, and my brother, you know, basically waited for the next gens to come out, because he knows that, like anything, it gets better as generations sort of go along. And yeah, but I've loved it from day dot. Just one of those things. So it's a nice half trigger throw. The Python's for the win though. Yeah. So yeah, I was a gate guy 4 years ago. Brent put me onto that. And still don't mind them, to be honest. But Leviathans are just Sherman tanks. You can't beat them. They're, yeah, incredible bit of kit. So, but yeah, we get people ask us to install everything. A lot of people just drop off all the parts, and you know, they'll have like a Perrin or an Asda or a Warfet or a Pico or a Nano or a Leviathan or you know, T238s. People drop off everything. So my personal preference though is definitely an optical Leviathan, 100%. Perrins are cool, a little bit of a programming thing to get through with you getting it through the trigger. Have ordered a limited, yeah, I've got a limited edition Levi being held for me until next week. The T238 motors are okay. I'm starting to hear that, yeah, the T238 motors are okay. I wouldn't mind giving them a crack, to be honest. You know, try everything 3 times, I always say. brushless that is. Yeah, it's definitely definitely something I'm keen to try. That's for sure. Like I said, this blaster is 39 centimeter barrel from memory when I just measured it before. So I have only short stroked at one tooth, and we're running a full cylinder on this one. Iron Man, Mickey D's, Levi's, a lovely piece. Yeah, it is kind of like Iron Man's or McDonald's, isn't it? A little bit like that. See into your reverse match. Used. Alright, let's get some grease on these bad boys. Boom. I like how Boss Man just waddles out here earlier and picks up the gears. Like there isn't shit on it. Bloody rookie. This is probably one of the most Gucci Gat Milsimmer guns I've ever done, to be honest. Not a whole lot of Milsimmers tend to go for the full spectrum upgrades. Most Milsimmers blasters I've worked on are, you know, switch block and very sort of stage one, you know, change the air seals, AOE correction, reshim. Right, planning to use much weasel build. Also adjustable RPM. Adjustable RPM, that's pretty cool. Got a skate, I'll be back online later, might even drop in for the finale. Nice, man. Yeah, she won't be too far away. Still have to run our stress test through your blaster. But yeah, once that's sort of signed off on, she'll be ready to slap some face. Grease working around, just take some of that excess off. Not too much grease being on there. Alright. A bit of grease on the shaft. Whew. Easy, boss man. Are you all listening? Stay in your office. Already done AOE on the piston before the video started, so wee drop of little drop. Alright. Oop, one vital thing I nearly forgot. And again, so tells you can just crank up the up here. Yeah, with a small spring and not short stroke, you just crank it up for shits and gigs, blow your piston to pieces. And that cylinder only just fits. A little bit of glue Loctite. In the back. And before I crank that down, I'll just cool. There's some more blue. Doesn't walk away like classic action hero. It actually would be pretty funny to see someone do that. Not gonna lie. So that's 4. Blue. Is that a tamati? Mommy! So, Mr. Marty has arrived at his reels. I get a little bit excited, so it's the ex-manager here and one of my best friends. Where's that little screw I had for? How's that been trying to sell a Range Warrior? Hop up again. Oh, don't get me started on those. Where is that little screw? For the Z bottom. So I can just use this one for now. So I'm going to run down and grab one.
Yeah.
I'm going to take the coffee machine too.
Oh, tamati! Yeah, it's alive, but I mean, the regular people that join us are quite loose, so, you know. Look at those giant hands. Wait for it. You guys will see it in a second. Wait. Here they come. What the hell is that? It's like an eclipse.
Need something to put it to scale, so a little screwdriver.
Now, here.
And then with me holding it.
Oh god.
Which building?
John's. No, not John. No, he's. I just don't want to say his last name just in case he doesn't want me to say it. Viper's Fury Militia Commander. I should probably tell you who it is.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Celebrity. Yeah.
Celebrity.
He's the ultimate celebrity. Is he watching?
He's been watching the whole time, but he just left. He's,
Oh, shame.
he's been on for like the last 2 hours, so. So how's it feel watching your gat get built? Alright, we are just about done. This one put up a little bit of a fight, but lost the ball in the end. Alright. Now, the fun part, is this beaver tail going to affect the pinion to bevel mesh? Is what we're about to find out. All right. Oops. If I answer that, I may lose my job. Actually, before I do that, I do need to get John's dust cover and bolt release on. I'm just letting the public know straight facts that Brent likes gooch. In general. He's in there eating his lunch in his ivory tower. He's like, you know, owns the place or something. Probably listening right now, like writing up my my 2 weeks notice as we speak. Need this spring. Alright, that's all I needed. Now we shall transplant into the scythe box. Did I say you could come out of your room?
Well, boss man.
Nice.
Mm.
Were they already making them?
Yep.
What?
There you go, people. You can see.
There's a little preview of hold on,
Yes.
how they will look.
Our bushes going in there.
You're out of control. Someone seriously needs to stop you. You're like, yeah? Well, it ain't you. So I might get the T-piece tuned. So just a quick rundown, you get your Apache rubber. If you're running the V3 AK rubber, you sort of trim like a mil off, and that's sort of around the right length. It's not crucial as to how long it'll be. If you run on the normal V2 rubber, it'll be two to three O-rings, but this is one of the older T-pieces, and what we're going to do is basically, not sure if you guys can see, we need another light set up. Basically you want the rubber to protrude to about there, so that the space between here just allows for a gel, and on full stroke it will then seal nicely into your bucking of your T-piece. So yeah, you do want the rubber protruding in quite a fair way, probably about a full mil. We'll see. So, but yeah, this is one of the old gens. So we made like a lot of these, and then the Gen 2 came out and they had like the barrel came down to here, so they would quadruple and triple feed. This one's one of the first ones where it goes all the way back, and the silver ones go all the way back as well. But yeah, there was a generation in between. We're trying to eliminate the barrel having to go all the way as deep, so when you put it in your blaster you didn't lose 10 mil. So you could still run your hop up without having to buy a new barrel for this T-piece, but it basically created a shotgun. So yeah, anyone that had that and contacted us got swapped out to the new gen. So I like to use a little bit of super glue on here, and then just keep turning it as it sets, so it's quite stiff, but doesn't go rock hard. And by super glue, I'm using a Power Flex on this one, so I do use different glues for different things. So a little bit of super glue on there, adjust it in, and I'll see where that sort of sits. So we're sitting about 1 mil in now, so that's about right where it wants to be at the moment for this particular length. Now if I'm using a shorter rubber, that might want to be in further. If I'm using a longer rubber, we might have to bring it out further. It just sort of depends. If you have it adjusted out too much, away from your rubber too much, you will get like the odd double feeds depending on gels, but especially notable is low FPS. You do just need to adjust your T-piece in clockwise. So I'd start all the way in, try, you'll notice the gels are coming up, it's not feeding, back off half a turn each time or even a quarter of a turn until you get to the point where you're feeding and you've got solid FPS. So yeah, it's just a matter of fine tuning and getting it to the right spot. I think someone's here. Hopefully they don't come upstairs. But as I said at the start of the stream, that we are going to do a independent Apache video with nice lighting so you can actually see what's going on. And basically, you know, help people tune their Apaches and get the most out of them. Hold on. Alright. A little bit of a gentle persuasion. There we go. Alright, so the gold one. Yeah, there's a few types getting around out there now. There's 2 batches of the golds. One batch was absolute garbage. So we ended up remaking them and sending them back out to anyone that had reached out to us. The first batch were good, which is why everyone sort of liked them in the first place. Second batch were pretty terrible, to be honest. And then I think we're at like batch number 6 or 7 now, where they're the silver ones. And yeah, they're perfectly fine. You just got to make sure your barrel's seated properly, and yeah, they can be a little bit dicky. Let's see. Okay, so I can already see the beaver tail is fouling on the receiver, so I'm going to have to take away a little bit of meat from the insides here, so I'll just have to do that off camera. Right, so I've just taken away some meat on the inside. Yeah, it's quite a few iterations now on the Apache. Have you got our email, PrimeTech? Because I'd like to sort of get you on board with the Apache side of things for airsoft. Get some things out to you. Alright, so let's see if that's a better fitment now. A little bit better. Where are we fouling there? Let's get in and see what we get. Not as much, but I have a feeling we're fouling on the front here. So this front face here. So I'm just going to take that down just a little bit. I love beaver tail grips. That's a lot better. Just don't want to take too much and then you end up with that big dirty gap. I want it to be just right, especially because being a mill simmer, it'll needs to retain as much. That's much better now. Alright. Wait to see this build up again. Once I get it from there. Yeah. Yeah, it's just about done. Just got to make sure that this grip doesn't interfere with our pinion to bevel meshing. I'm not going to get that treatment. Right, so it turns out it wasn't the beaver tail, it was more this front face. It's pretty classic of APS style receivers though, with quite a few different types of V2 grips. Like I know the amoeba grips on APS receivers don't sit very good. So without, you know, sort of fixing up the front face of them. failing on the grip here at all, which is good. Let's get the motor in. Got good movement. Alright, so I've got the cable management in. This grip's a little bit funky for cable management. I think it's not too bad. Like that. Right, so we still have movement. Yes, I'm not a huge fan of Everdell grips. Let me grab a battery and we shall fire her up. I'm just going to do some quick programming. Where's my phone? Alright, so let's calibrate the Leviathan. Oh. And my phone must be doing the thing again. Just bear with me 1 second. Let's get some tidying up here while we're waiting for that. This, that. Too easy, man. If you need my email, you can drop me on IG. Yeah, man. We'll definitely hit you up. Okay, it's on the back. Put that back in. Now, if I start. Leviathan. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, the old unplug and plug back in trick worked. Turn off the brake. And a little bit. We need motor, volt, connection, select the calibration. 52, 68, 90, so we've got safe semi auto, good there. Temperature's 31 and 34. Basically room temp, but no errors, cool. Overspin sensitization full auto, safe semi burst, let's do full. Alright. Yeah, it's definitely fouling on that grip. That sounds quite nasty. So we're going to have to go back into the grip and take it down a little bit further. Little increments at a time. And you're going to hit you up for my gooch is tingling. Yeah. Alright, so I just got to shave a little bit more off this grip. Just take a little bit more off. A little bit more, and then we shall see how it sounds. Just don't want to take too much off, like I said, because it, last thing you want is like a space between your grip and your receiver. Alright, let's take a little bit more. Take a little bit more off this inside. Right. See if that fits a bit better. Right, just going to take a little bit off the top.
8-1, maybe 16-1, but nothing much faster than that. I have one that's 13, but without the
Alright, let's see what we get now. Okay, so it's still Alright, so we have a minute gap there now with the grip on, so it should be a lot better this time. Fingers crossed. No screwdriver's the best because I do. Yeah, dollar for dollar, they're definitely the best. It's just when you crank them real hard, they spin in the handle. Yeah, there's quite a few different types. They're just easy to get. They're just down the road and don't cost a whole lot. Yeah, so I can still feel that dead space between that grip. That sounds a bit better, so we know we're going in the right direction. Right. Where's the vice grips? Sorry, I think we're not vice grips. Alright, let's try again. So we're going to have to do some pretty... Take the gearbox out of the receiver, screw the grip to it. Yeah, I like how the black parts spin. It makes it super quick and easy to undo stuff. So I like, you know, like you're saying there, it's just black part resting in the hand while she spins. Right. Jesus. No, that grip's still way off, to be honest. Reminds me of the old MK box, like the first gen MKs, which were too short. The grips had all this dead space, so you'd shim them, just adjust the grip to the gearbox, it'd sound incredible. Then you put the gearbox in the receiver and then shoot it again, it sounds terrible. Same thing, just dead space. Just just one of those grips. Curiosity. There's men in the lower black part, like you're talking about how you like to spin when you're taking them down. You just spin when you're taking them down. There's men in the lower back part. Okay, you're talking about how they like to spin. Oh no, I mean like the actual, this part can spin inside that blue plastic if you torque them hard enough. Yeah, I've done that to quite a few, but I mean $20, you know, you go and get another whole set, $25 or whatever. They're pretty good. Plus I like that they have all different sets. Just out of curiosity, I don't normally do this. I just want to see what's that grip fit like. It's just a quick little tester. I'm going to have to go back in, and still quite a bit of modding to that grip to do to get that one to fit. So that screw tightened right up, so that should... I'm only going to do 1 or 2 shots with this grip. I meant no talking. Yeah, it's just like we've had people drop their blasters off where, you know, they've used like red Loctite on screws and they can't get it undone, or blue Loctite and it's like really tight in there, and so you go to crank them and then it just starts spinning within the handle itself. It's very, very rare. And yeah, more so with people doing that as an issue on their own. Alright, so I had this this problem last week with another Milsimers gun. Big Mick, big South African. The grip he wanted me to use was plaguing issues, and I just went like heavily modded on it in the end, and yeah, ended up getting it perfectly good, but it was just a lot of work. Sounded screechy as hell at first, and yeah, I just had to go through and modify his grip. Much better on that grip. Just adjust that, because that won't be... More than likely won't be the right motor height. Too high. with this grip. So now I'm going to take the gearbox out of the receiver and put the grip straight on it and just make sure that that's all good, which 9.9 times out of 10 it is. And that just confirms that I have to go back and just heavily modify the grip. So we have to pull it all down. Oh. And standing at this desk is killing my back. No, the ones that I've seen it like completely like fused shut, very rare. But it's always like something that a customer like drops off, something that they've done. It's not a common issue. Let's see what we shall see. So, okay. I mean, with the new grip that I don't commonly use, I probably should have done this first, to be honest, but I knew there'd be some mods with the beaver tail. It's always the way with beaver tail grips, unless it's sort of tailor-made to that receiver, but this APS doesn't run a beaver tail setup. Put the super glue on the wires, I'll have to try that. Oh, it's Pentatex. I don't know about the wires too much. Super glue in the box. Yeah, if you do super glue them in, just use a little bit of acetone. It instantly breaks the bond to super glue. You let it sit for like 10-15 seconds and your wires will just pop up on their own. No need to sort of, yank them out. Before John gets this gun, I am going to have to pull these tabs off his warhead and solder them on. Because they are starting to get loose. Which mid-game will go on him. The tab will come off the warhead and that'll be very, very annoying while you're playing mid-game. Yeah, APS blasters hate other V2 grips, I know. It's one of the downfalls to them. Like most APS, you gut the internals and build them anyway. Okay, fire selector's coming out. Alright, so I'm going to have to pull this grip off because it sounds a lot better, sounds really good without being in the receiver. So I'm going to have to force it to fit the APS receiver. I reckon receivers are a bit different than most 2V ones. They are, yeah, if you hold them up, like if you measure the dimensions of the APS V2 receivers, they are quite a bit different to most V2s. So yeah, they are a little bit finicky in that regard. But yeah, this is going to get lengthy, so we're going to have to probably do a part 2. Once I get this grip done, we'll do a chrono and picture and stuff with John when he comes to pick it up. Yeah, there's going to be quite a bit of fiddling around with this grip to that receiver, unfortunately, and it's just going to be a lot of off-camera stuff. Little bits at a time, and screw and test, and a little bit screw test, little bit screw test. So yeah, unfortunately this time I won't get to shoot Bossman live, like on the other lives. So yeah, we'll have to get back on that. I really like gearboxes that use torque screws, which is why I've been buying AEGs. They're good test rigs as well. Man, torque screws is exactly what I've been saying to Papa John, Big Dog, about supplying in the size. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the standard Allen key style screws. Never have been, and that's why I liked my retro 3 years ago. I like the torque screws. That's one reason I like retro arms. Yeah, exactly. One of the reasons I like them as well. But yeah. So John, if you are watching, leave it with me, man. You will be contacted either, if not this afternoon, it'll be first thing Monday morning. And if you can, come in and yeah, we'll do the pew pew. And Bossman will film it. Any other questions before I jump off? It's just going to get real boring right now, so this is one of those. That's why I had to ask that, do that. Oh, you must have missed my last. That's why I have asked to do that. Yeah, I've missed quite a bit just because there's been quite a bit of fiddling with this grip, unfortunately. But I mean, we'll get it to fit. It's putting up a fight at the moment, so yeah, it's just going to be lots of little bits with the Dremel, you know, cutting away and just making sure it fits nice and perfectly. Well, I shall catch you all on the next Free Build Friday. You'll see, if you follow the Aztec page or Azrael's page, you will see John picking up this blaster and putting some gels through it, and just like the other Free Build Fridays, except we didn't get the Spider-Man one. We got a picture with him, but yeah, we forgot to get him shooting it, which, you know, is one of the best things about building a blaster for someone. Apache tuning. Apache tuning video is going to be independent, bro. Brent's fully down for that, because we get a lot of people asking. You're open tomorrow, Shaka? Might try to drop in. That depends. At this moment, no. So anyway, guys, have a lovely weekend and stay tuned. Looking forward to the next Free Build Friday. Yeah, thanks for joining, man. You've been in every single one, which is awesome. Love having you in the chats, and you know, people asking airsoft questions is also especially handy to have you in here. So yeah, it's I'm unfortunately, I wanted to shoot Bossman again on live stream. It's starting to become a tradition, and I'm enjoying that tradition. I'm sure he's enjoying it as well. But yeah, this grip is unfortunately going to need quite a bit of modding. Just little hits with the Dremel, attach, test, take off, little bit of Dremel, attach, test, take off, until we get it right. Problem being is I don't want to take too much meat away from it and then have a big gap around a Milsimmers blaster. It's not something that looks very appealing. So yeah, it's just going to be lots of little fiddly bits from here on out. But nonetheless, we will get a video with him shooting it, and we'll go from there. Anyway guys, have a lovely weekend, and I shall catch you all in the next live stream.